Welcome back to Just Thoughts. Have you ever had a instant connection with someone where it just flowed, it made sense, and it felt like you've known them forever? Recently, I've actually had someone that's come into my life that has felt that way. Almost like you've known them for a long time, even though you've known them for maybe just a day, maybe just a few weeks, but regardless of how long that time period it's been, it feels like you've known them forever. Now, those are, I think, super important people. I think those are people that we have a soul connection to. Now, regardless of whatever you believe, I think that those connections are people that we've met before this life. Whether you believe that there was a life before here or, if there is a life after. But I think somehow our souls were connected before we were on this earth. Now, that being said, that makes it makes those connections a unique and uncommon circumstance. Now, do those happen all the time? No. But I think it's a more common experience that most of us can relate on than we anticipate. Now, does this diminish all of our other connections that we've ever made? No. I think the ones that happen like this are special, and we need to cherish them like crazy. Because those are far and few between, I think. But it doesn't diminish the fact that we can build and create new connections with people that we don't instantly connect with. Now how do we make these connections? What is connection? And is connection dictated on time? Now, after this last thought that I just shared with you, if we believe in the fact that people can be connected instantly and feel that way, I think it supersedes and it proves the fact that connection doesn't have to happen over time. It doesn't take this long drastic period of time to build connection. But in other circumstances, I think it sometimes does, where you have to build trust, you have to build, these different things in between it. Now, I was writing in my journal just, recently, and I wrote here, now this doesn't diminish our connection or mean you can't develop a connection to a crazy deep level like we did with these people that we connect with instantly. And I asked the question to myself, what would these steps or foundations be to building that connection if it wasn't instantaneously, but we do want to build that connection with this person? And I don't think my thoughts have been fully developed around this idea, but I thought it was important to share it with you. And the first couple things that came to mind were, the first one was, you actually have to care for this person. If you don't actually care about them, there's absolutely no shot that there's going to be a deep level of connection to them. Now, the second thought that I had was, you have to ask questions that aren't superficial. The day-to-day questions that we ask people of like, how are you? What do you do for work? Are you going to school? How's school? Blah, blah, blah. Like, in retrospect, those are great questions. But if we're searching and seeking for something deeper, these questions aren't going to cut it. It's just going to keep things at a superficial level. And we're not going to be able to build that connection that we're hoping for. Now, the next thought that I did have, and as I've looked at my relationships and the people that I do have connections with, you have to check in with them consistently. Now, this is something I am not great at. I'm good at this for, a time period, but then when I feel like it's not reciprocated or the checking in isn't reciprocated, then I tend to just cut ties entirely, which is very, very bad, and it is not going to keep this connection that you've built with this person. So, fair warning, I am not the best person at this. However, I do understand that the fact is you have to check in order to continue this connection with this person. And the last thought that I kind of had, and this isn't a fully developed, process or step-by-step process with this, but, you have to make time that you spend with this person quality time. You can't just be having this crazy amounts of abundant time, but you do need to make the time, even if it's short times, make those things quality. So that goes back to, what questions are you asking and what are you doing with these people? So I think it's important that you do identify and understand what quality versus quantity is. And I think most of us understand that. But those are the steps that I was contemplating today of like, okay, what does that take to build that connection? And looking back at my past relationships that I do have connections with, and it's like, okay, that's what it took was, building the building blocks of asking good questions, actually caring what this person is doing with their life, checking in on them, and then having that quality time with them. So those 4 steps I think were pretty crucial, and I'm sure there's more. I would love if you guys commented down below what you think this step-by-step process is, or, am I missing something in these steps that maybe I'm blind to, or maybe that help you connect with people. So please comment below. These are just thoughts that I'm trying to cultivate and form full ideas behind, but right now most of these are very, very just small pieces of an idea. Now, the other question that I wrote to myself these last few days was, what is love? Now, what is love for you? There's been times where I thought that I know what love is, and I thought I knew what it looked like and what it felt like. But the more that I reflect on what I feel and what I think, the less and less I understand what love is. Now, I think the times that I wrote here, the times that I thought I knew what love is, the conclusion that I would come to is, it's sacrifice, acceptance of the hardship, lots of highs and lows, and just making it work. Now, in retrospect, I think this is right. It could be. Maybe it is for some people. But the more that I look at what I envision love being, it doesn't have to be this hardship. It doesn't have to be these highs and lows. It doesn't have to be so difficult, and it doesn't have to you have to make compromises, but I don't think you have to sacrifice a whole lot. Now, maybe that's just a mind frame difference in people of saying one thing is a sacrifice versus, my mindset's differently, so I don't think of it as a sacrifice, but I don't know. This topic, when I start thinking of what I want in a relationship and what I think love is, it brings up a lot of frustration and a lot of anger for me, where it's you're telling me that it has to be hard, you have to go through all these highs and all these lows and really just make it work no matter what, and all of this hardship that you hear people and saying, and it's not supposed to be easy. It has to be hard. And I don't want to accept that. And maybe I'm refusing to accept the fact that that's what love is. And maybe it is that, I don't know. And that's why I wrote the question of like, what is love? And I don't know entirely what it is, but the things that I was writing of what I think and what I believe can be love is, someone, like, you're telling me that we can't find someone that it just flows with, right? Where we're both in an understanding that we need to be respectful to each other. We can't, like, why can't we communicate in a way that it doesn't feel so difficult? Like, it's just an easy conversation that you can have of being like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what's going on with me, and you both can respect each other enough to give each other space for those things. Like, I don't know why it can't just be easy. And I think it can. And maybe that's why I'm still single, and maybe I don't have a full understanding of what love is. But I was like, you're telling me that there can't be anyone. Let me see what I wrote right here, actually. I had a formed thought where it was, like, so in my mind, I'm having a conversation, with a person that's telling me that it has to, a relationship is hard. It's going to be so many trials, so many tribulations, so many this, so many that's. And for me, almost my rebuttal in a sense is like there's not anyone in this entire world that can't be committed to me, can't be respectful, be understanding of each other's shortcomings, and be in it for the long haul. I don't think that's so outlandish to believe. And, I don't think it's unreasonable for me to think those things. And the more that I think about it, I think it's most people just have a huge ego. You get caught up in what you want, or caught up in, whatever emotion it is that you're feeling, and it comes out to the people that you care about most. And I've seen that in my life where, you look at your parents when you were growing up, your siblings, the people that should mean the most to you tend to be the people that you say the most harsh things to. And the more that I've developed emotionally and intellectually, the more that I just understand that it's way better to just take a few minutes to step back and evaluate what you're feeling before you say something that you don't want to say. And I think it can be easy if you learn the steps to building yourself to that point. And I don't think it's impossible, and I don't think it's unreasonable for me to believe that someone is out there that is on the same emotional wavelength that I am, where we can't just communicate the way that we're feeling and be understanding of each other. Now, it's not to say that there isn't going to be hard times or whatnot, but I don't think the relationship part of it has to be hard. And that's what you hear growing up time and time again, that a relationship's so hard. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And I think relationship is work. However, if it's just part of who you are in communicating the way that you do, it makes the relationship hell of a lot easier. At least that's what I think. Because the more that you can overly communicate with that person, the more that relationship's going to thrive because they're in the know. You've expressed how you're feeling. You know what's going on in both of each other's lives, where there's not any stress. The trust is there because you're both communicating what's going on. So ultimately, it makes it easy. But I think for people, developing the skills beforehand is going to be way more beneficial for us. However, I think a lot of people hop into relationships without having those emotional skills developed. So then it does make it hard because you're both just trying to make it work and trying to understand each other. And you're going to have shortcomings, which is inevitable. But because you're emotionally not up to par or like where a relationship is needed, it makes that, it builds conflict. There's conflict within that because either A, you don't know what you're actually feeling, B, you don't know how to communicate it, or C, that the one person is trying to do that, but the other person isn't at an emotional level that can be understanding of what's being shared to them. So then it brings out their insecurities, and then it just starts to build this conflict within each other. Now, most people can work through those things. It just is a lot of work, and it makes it hard. However, I refuse to believe that I have to go through that. Like, I believe that there is someone out there that is emotionally intelligent enough to be able to have those conversations with me and be able to communicate the way that we need to have a healthy and easygoing relationship. Now, maybe it's just me being naive, and you guys can comment below if I'm being naive and if I am just spewing things out my ass. Because I may be. I'm a 25-year-old that, I don't have tons of life experience, and I can understand that. And, maybe I just haven't gone through enough to fully form my thoughts behind it. But I also I'm willing to change my thoughts. I just have yet to really see a relationship that is like, yes, that's what I want. And yes, because of the hardships that they did go through, that makes it all worth it. I've yet to see a relationship in my life that like really resonates with me, that like, yep, everyone that's telling me that it's going to be hard and all these things, I just don't tend to want the relationship that they have. And maybe that's me just not understanding, right? I don't know everything. I hope people understand that I don't know everything. Sometimes I do come off that like I know a lot, but I don't. I really don't know anything. I just have semi-formed thoughts that I don't think have been fully cultivated. Now, I would love if you guys could comment below what your definition of love is and what is love for you. Because I think it is individualized, but I also think that there is core principles behind love that is universal and can be applied to every relationship. So I would love to gain a better understanding of what love is, and I need your help. Because if I am delusional in my thoughts, I need to understand what parts are delusional and what parts are smart, and what parts are fully formed and what parts aren't. Now, please comment below what you think what love is to you, especially those that are in a relationship, and those that aren't. I would love to gain both perspectives of, a single person that has an understanding of what they think love is, and then a person that's either in a young relationship or a marriage that's been together for 20 plus years, 10 plus years, just a young marriage, whatever your situation is. I would love to know what is love for you, and has that changed from you being single to then now being married, or to now being in a committed long-term relationship? Has that changed? And I actually sent a few messages to people that are I'm close within my life and respect their relationships, to see what their idea of love is. Now, I'll probably make a follow-up, podcast of what those replies were and what your replies are, and loop back around to see if I can come to a more full and complete thought of what love actually is and what it feels like. So these were my thoughts. I wrote here, and as my lasting thought was, I need to go into the scriptures, and God, I think, has given good understanding to what love is. So that's going to be my homework, is to read what you guys have to say, read what my people that I trust say about their relationship and what love is, and then ultimately compile what you guys say, what the people that I love and trust say, and what God has to say. And then hopefully this is going to then give me a more full and complete understanding of what love feels like, what it looks like, and what it actually is. Because like I was saying, there was this person that I've made this instant connection with, where it's like we've known each other so long, and yet it's so new. And I need to know what love is before I ever get to a place that I can say it to someone. There has been times where I've said it and I don't know if I fully understood what that actually meant. So this is my effort to understanding what love is, so that when that time does come, I'm educated and I know when I do say it to that person that I actually mean it, and it's actually intentional behind it. So please help me. These are just random thoughts, and they're never fully formed when I'm on here. So be nice, please. And I want to hear what you guys have to think as well. So please comment below, subscribe, and we'll be back with it next week with some more thoughts. Thanks. Love you guys. Peace.